So the most efficient thing to do is not to read 100 books. It's to tap into people that read the books.
Through you impacting someone, that person can then impact that person can, and then it's a ripple effect.
Do you understand? It's like, actually, how do I make these things work for me?
When you understand, sometimes a lot of us come from a place where money isn't abundant in our scenario, but we need to open our minds and realize that it's abundant in the world. Yo, people, welcome back to the Bread and Butter podcast. It's here with myself, Tayo.
And myself, E-Man.
And guys, this month, E-Man, innit? We got something special for you guys. We've got a little bit different. Obviously, you know, the Bread and Butter podcast, we like to bring people from different industries to come and talk to you about money. But it's January. It's a new year, innit, E-Man?
Oh, come on. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So what we've decided to do, we've decided to bring some of our pals, some of our buddies that are expert in various things in money, and they're going to come and talk to you and talk with E-Man and I about money. So, E-Man, who we got today?
So, you know what? Today's a good one. Got some of the mandem. You know, it's nice when you got the mandem.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
Obviously, we got my brother Dev's Stock Pickers Academy, the one and only when it comes to stocks, when it comes to buying stocks. There's no one better. So we had to bring him down to teach you lot what you should be doing, why you should be doing it, and obviously how to diversify also. And learn a bit more about his strategy, because his strategy's sick still.
Absolutely.
And then also, my younger. Hey, you see these guys, I love them so much. But you know, he brought the one with personality. The rest of them don't at me. They're going to be mad.
They're going to be fuming.
We had to get that phone call.
You have to be the one with the real personality up on here. My brother Akin, I love him so much. So proud of, you know, the movement, what they're doing, how they're doing it in their own way, you know, and how they move, clean-hearted. You know, I think one of the biggest things, other than obviously bricks, a lot of these property guys take a bad rap, but I tell you, like, Property Strat, I meet people all the time. I've never had, no one's ever talked bad about them or they robbed them on this deal. These are men that are really about making you money, and so through property, and so I love them and what they do, and so it's an honor to have the both of you on here, man.
Come on, hey, you might smash that intro,
I
you know.
I like
that was peak, bro. That was peak. But guys, what we always do, we ain't gonna break tradition. We always ask people what their bread and butter is. So is there a chance to say a little bit about yourselves, about your bread and butter? What is it that you do for a living? But also just sprinkling there what your expertise is as well. So Debs, we'll start with you.
So right now, I'm running Stock Pickers Academy. It's a business now. It was 3, 4, 6 years. So from mid-2020, turned into a business. The model really is I charge for a course where you learn my strategy for investing in stocks or crypto, and then you pay a subscription fee to be in the group. Aside from that, I day trade and I invest myself. I angel invest in startups, and I help businesses to raise capital as well from investors. And then the last hat that I wear is a careers mentoring hat. So I've been mentoring people into investment banking for nearly 10 years. More than that, nearly 15 to 16 years. And what I do is I get you assessment center ready. And if you've been in the industry for quite a while, then I help you to find the next move in your career. And it doesn't need to be just investment banking. It could be anything, because I leverage my network to make that possible.
Amazing. I can go for it.
Yeah, man, I'm so Akin over Mackin, and I'm a property investor, sourcer, and developer, and what that looks like, and podcaster, content creator.
Come on.
But we've been a bit quiet this year, so we'll be back soon. But yeah, mainly just working with different types of investors. So with the sourcing side, everything from sourcing properties for supported living companies, care homes, working with busy professionals to get them sort of high yielding buy-to-lets, and also sourcing deals for small scale and large scale developers. And then obviously doing our projects ourselves as well. So everything from, we started off about 6-7 years ago now, and we've done pretty much every kind of property strategy there is. Everything from rent to buy to let to HMOs, BRRRs, flips, commercial to resi developments, and also land developments as well. So yeah, that's us pretty much. And going into the new year, we're looking at more and more different opportunities, and I'm now looking at diversifying a bit as well, the business. And yeah, that's really it, really. Yeah.
Nice. Quick question before we segue into the next bit. Yeah, Debs, do you invest in property?
Yes.
Okay. Akin, you dabble in stocks?
I very litally dabble.
Very literally.
Very
Come
literally.
on, let's see the English.
Very literally. I was nervous.
Literally.
I'm standing next to the man in it, so I'm standing next to the man. Careful. You know when
You don't want to offend
yeah, you know we start talking now. And what does that mean? So
What about crypto?
yeah, I got some change in there. Nothing crazy.
Don't worry, we're going to get into it. Now, guys, on the Bread and Butter podcast, what we love to do is find out about our guests' journey and so on and so forth. But I'm going to be honest, we're not going to do much of that today, simply because we want our audience to get as much gems for you as possible. So Iman and I are going to be, back and forth, give and take, just discussing the gems, innit?
Yeah, but Debs, your story's sick. Please give us because I'm not going to lie, Debs can talk. Give us the short version. Because I love your story. When I meet people, I tell people their story.
Yes.
I love it because it's a story not just of progress, but also of sacrifice.
Yes.
Because people here stock pickers. One of the reasons why I back stock pickers so much is because he actually could make more money in the city right now for the last however many years.
Yep.
But he chose to come back to Peckham and just teach the world, like our community specifically, about stocks in a way that we can understand, using language that we understand. He keeps up to date in the culture. You'll see him in the Shade Borough comments all the time, just so that culture can remember that we're here and we exist. And he does that on purpose. And this is a man that could literally be in an office, sit in the best bank in the world and make absolute mills. And he walked away from that for us. So stock pickers, to me, is not just a place for us to, learn stocks. It's actual a man's sacrifice for his community, and that's his legacy. So I appreciate it. But yeah, share us your story.
And when you do, Debs, as well as being quick, like Iman said, don't be afraid to talk your stuff, please. And Akin, you're going to do the same. Don't be afraid to talk your stuff, because our audience really need to hear where you're speaking from. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. So I grew up in Peckham. Some of you may have heard the story before or not, but the guys that killed Damilola Taylor lived right next door to me. My mum was a teacher. My mum taught in Woolworth. My mum taught in Alwyn's. My mum taught in St. Joseph's Academy. My mum taught in Blueborough and in the schools around Peckham. And what that meant was quite a lot of people who were involved in that life were taught by my mum. And combined with just being good at football around the area, I was able to navigate it without needing to get involved. But after that killing, it was very much normal house parties. So it was literally just football and books and chess, right? That helped me through school. I was always smart in school. I knew my times tables at the age of 6. I got moved up a year. I actually got kicked out of my primary school when I was 6. For putting my middle finger up at the head teacher. Yeah. I had behaviour issues and those got fixed, and then, did they get fixed? They moved me up a year into the year group where there was a no-nonsense teacher. And then from there, that's where I got that year, because I got moved back a year in school. Got the best GCSE results in my school's history. Got a scholarship to do my 6th form, to do A-levels at the City of London School. Went to University of Warwick to study something called Morse, which is Maths, Operational Research, Statistics and Economics.
Man's never heard of Morse before.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. It's the first time I've heard it. I'm sorry, I'm going to go back a little bit.
I always say maths. Because I don't know why, but I always just say maths.
Exactly. That's what we want you to talk your stuff. Say that one more time. Morse, what does it mean?
Maths, Operational Research, which is Management Science, Statistics and Econ.
I understand that most of us will never hear this course because we don't have the intelligence for them to even bring it
It's
up.
the hardest course at
For them
Warwick.
even to bring it up.
Apparently, it's the hardest course.
And sorry, you mentioned, because I'm sorry, I've been laughing to myself since, because he said, so for me it was football, books and chess. Wait, chess? How old were you? And chess is the main thing that you're mentioning next to football.
No, I learned chess at the age of 6, 7. I used to play my dad. We would play. We had days in the house where I got to skip housework because me and my dad were going at it for 12 hours.
Crazy.
Wow. Crazy. Love that. And Warwick obviously is one of the top universities in the country.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
And then I landed a job in the city at Goldman Sachs working as a trader on the trading floor.
For those that don't know who Goldman Sachs, please explain the level of Goldman Sachs.
Are the biggest investment bank in the world. They're the most prestigious, and everyone wants to eventually work there. And at the time where I landed the job was just after Lehman Brothers had gone down, which was an investment bank that basically went under during the credit crunch. So there are a lot of people losing their jobs who were more than able to keep it. It was a very, very tough time. I actually had a job offer for Barclays rescinded because of it.
Wow.
So then I had to hustle to even get the job at Goldman. I did 25 interviews. Yeah, it was intense. It was very intense. And some people might think that that's a lot, but their thinking was, if you get all yeses, now you've got 25 friends when you join, 25 people you've met already. And this is the culture that just makes the place really good. So after Goldman, I worked at a Jewish family office. And this is where I was able to show a bit more flair, learn about other products to trade.
What did you do at Goldman?
At Goldman, I traded something called equity derivatives. So I was basically the Hargreaves Lansdown, but for hedge funds, right? So imagine Warren Buffett wanted to take in a big position in Vodafone or Apple. He would do it through my desk. And he could do that as an individual stock purchase or multiple at once. And we will do that transaction as a derivative, which is CFDs and swaps. In layman's terms, it's a way of virtually holding the position without actually owning the physical shares.
Yes.
But to protect ourselves, we'll go out and buy the physical shares and just pass on the profits to him virtually in the derivative format. So doing that means that you also need to manage the physical that you've bought. If it pays a dividend, then you need to pass the dividend on to the investor. And you actually need to borrow to buy those physical shares to do that business. So what you actually do is the cost of borrowing, you charge the client that and a bit more. So you make money on the financing side of the business, the treasury side, and you make money charging a commission.
Okay.
And then you basically manage that. It goes long.
But you did that at
So I had to trade Forex to manage the risks.
Yeah.
I had to trade interest rate products to manage the risk as well as market making the swaps, and then managing a whole trading book that was exchanging the physical we bought with a virtual, but with an investment bank. So if that's complex, but eventually you go from offering a virtual product to a client, owning the physical, to now getting that physical to trade with another investment bank rather than a hedge fund. So now you have virtual versus virtual.
Wow.
And that's just taking the inventory off balance sheet and charging a fee for that and optimizing the business.
So for the people that ain't following it, if you've been watching Industry,
Go watch Industry.
go watch Industry.
Just like that as well.
Yeah, go watch Industry and you'll get an idea of the environment. Some bits are exaggerated, but some bits are very, very, very accurate. I even started doing I think I did one TikTok trying to analyze one scene so you can see the microaggressions, but maybe I'll do a bit more of those. But it's very hard to explain that world to people not in that world. So I always just try my best to do it in layman's terms.
Love that. And then so you went into the private office.
Went into a Jewish family office, did that for 3 years, and then I decided to go back to the investment banking side.
So what's a private office for those that...
So imagine the synagogues, high net worth individuals, they put capital together and they'll allocate it to different projects or to different firms. Those firms now have a load of capital that they need to grow, right? And they can do that trading corn futures, milk futures, oil. So I actually traded something called Euribor, which is it's an interest rate product. And you're betting if it goes up and down. It's actually not really a thing anymore, Euribor, but I also ended up I created my own strategy to trade Forex as well as index equity stock futures. That's like your S&P 500, but you're trading it intraday.
Okay.
Yeah. And also I did oil. I did a lot of oil. I traded a lot of oil futures.
That's the one people know, trading oil.
Yeah, I traded a lot of oil, crude oil, Brent, light sweet, I did a lot of that. And then when I moved back to the investment banking world, I was actually trading bonds, loans
Okay.
in the Treasury Department. So you're facing central banks all around the world, and you're basically managing the cash of the firm through these products. And then I got headhunted to move to the Channel Islands, which I'd never heard of. I've heard of the Channel Islands, but I didn't hear of Guernsey.
Yeah.
So they just say, oh, UK and the Channel Islands. So I moved to Guernsey for 3 years, which was phenomenal. Guernsey. So it's it's an island somewhere between France and the UK.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're game changer.
Yeah.
So these guys basically built algorithms. This is the first time I started to use my maths from uni.
Wow.
So they use mathematics to build models, to algorithms, bots to trade the markets. And they'll do that in all asset class, in all regions. So I used to trade Japanese stocks, Australian stocks, Indian stocks, Singapore on algorithm. And you'll see the new one, Taiwan, Korea, headache. Because you can't just go on Google and type. So UK stocks have numbers, have letters like VOD for Vodafone. You know, Korean is 6 numbers. So you have to go. You can't just type that into Google. You need to type it into Bloomberg and see what the company name is. And even then, the information about some of these companies aren't just.
It's not really out there like that.
Yeah.
And where it is, it's in Korean. Yeah. So then you need to contact a Korean broker to break it. Yeah. Messy, but good.
So then what led to you leaving that and then starting Stock Pickers?
Life, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
I came out of a relationship and I realised that the type of girl I wanted, sister, wasn't really out there like that. And at the same time, my dad got diagnosed with cancer. So I felt like I wasn't really there. I was flying, but when you're flying, you can't just fly and stay.
Yeah.
So I felt like I wasn't really there. And then on top of it, so out there, I used to play football, proper football, serious football. We're playing 90 minutes, sometimes 3 times a week. Then I'm playing with the reserve team as well because I just can't stop. We're training twice a week, grass, 4 refs, linesmen, everything. And I enjoyed it. But 3 years in, I was getting to the end of that. I was getting bored of the island as well, so there was that factor. And the island is small, so that policeman you see could also be your assistant coach at football.
Yeah.
We're literally seeing the same people everywhere in different jobs and
bots.
It got too much.
Yeah.
But I loved it out there. I mean, you score a goal. I remember I scored a goal in the Guernsey FA Cup. Listen,
You're the man on the island.
I didn't even
basically.
start the game, but I came on and I scored the equaliser and got the assist for the winner in the semi-final. The next day, I was in the press. They put my photo. You go into Waitrose, Debs. You get these little kids like proper run. It was nice experiencing a little bit of the
Because it's small.
It's small, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you get like 1,000 people watching a game. Yeah,
Half the population.
it was my little Man United little moment experience in football. So I really loved like that time out there, but it was time to come back.
No, I hear you.
So I came back without a job, and then I got offered a role very, very quickly, but it was in Oxford, right? Doing the same thing I was doing over there, but in Oxford. So I thought about it, but I said, but that's the whole reason I moved back, because now I need to go and rent in Oxford, and it didn't make sense. So I turned that down, thinking that more offers will just be coming.
Yeah.
Hey. So time was just going now. All along, Stock Pickers had been there, but just as a free group from like 2014.
Yeah.
And we're now, 2019? And then lockdown.
Yeah.
And then I got, in a very short space of time, I got 2 verbal offers.
Yeah.
Right? One for Citadel, which is one of the biggest, Google them. Yeah, one of the biggest firms. And the other one was, it was a new one I hadn't really heard of, Marble Bay. But then lockdown meant they were still figuring out, do traders work from home, this and that. So it was a thing where I just thought, okay, 5 months down the line, they'll just call me up and say, yeah, take the role. But that didn't happen. But also in that 5 months, Stock Pickers, Clubhouse was popping. And so that's in a very short summary.
that's
a very
short.
short.
For
summary.
them, that is short.
That's short.
But let me
Like the journey.
Let me tell you why me and Des will be friends forever. So it's lockdown. I get a message from Debs. I don't know him this
Oh,
time.
that's how we met.
I get a message from Debs on my DMs like, oh yeah, can we speak? Da-da-da-da. So he changed numbers, calls me. He's like, yeah, some people in my group have been talking bad about you because they went on your thing and said, how this guy is charging for one-to-ones and stuff like that, and look how much he's charging, and you're doing stock pickers for free. And he was like, no, I've got to speak to this guy. So then he's like, bro, you know what? It's my fault. This is how I know. They said it. This is my fault because I'm giving it for free, so they don't value it. And he's like, they're talking bad about you, but they don't know your history and what your experience and all of that type of stuff. And I just like, this guy didn't have to tell me nothing. I don't know him from nowhere. Even the people that are talking, I don't even know who they are. He's like, I want you to join the group. I want us to talk. From there, me and Debs like been inseparable. Because you know when someone just shows you their heart, like there's just very few people that are just clean-hearted in life.
Yes.
Like, so he could have easily just made a judgment or whatever. He's like, no, I got to get to know you. And that's the character of him. And as long as I've known him, even when he's wrong, he'll tell you, no, you know what? I've flopped. I've made a mistake. But because of the way he is, you know that he didn't do it on purpose.
Yes, of course.
And that's the type of people you want in your closest circle.
Yes.
Because you know that they'll always tell you the truth. They'll, like, if he sees me looking bad, he will message me like, "Hey man, I don't really like how you did this. I know what you was trying to do, but you could have done it." These are the type of people that you need in your life, because there's so much people that once you start to make it a little, they're scared to tell you the truth. They're scared because they rely on your success makes them look good.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you're with someone and you know that, bruv, Des will just tell me whatever he wants to tell me because he knows that he's not relying on me and I'm not relying on him. Do you see what I'm saying? So we can truly have an open conversation. And he's one of the realest people I've ever met in life. And like, I've done his course. His course is sick. I've sent pretty much all my clients, I told them after they do my stuff and learn about the basics, I'm like, the next level is to learn stocks. Go and do the stock picker course. I'll tell them all. And he's always trying to give me this referral link. I don't want no referral link. I just want them to go and do your thing. Do you know what I mean? Because I just know. And all of them have gone and all of them have learned. And he makes me look good. And that's all I want. If I'm going to refer,
it's key.
All I want is that when I send them, they're not coming back telling me, "Man, I can't believe you sent me." Like, all of them come back, "Oh, I've learned this, I'm doing this." They're building their portfolio. They've got the funds that I've given them, and then they've got the stocks that they're buying through Debs' thing. It works perfectly. And so that's the level of the man. And, you know, I'm just so proud to know that, you know, it's only been like 4 years, but I feel like I know I'm closer to him than maybe people that I've known him for since I've been small. Do you know what I mean? Because of the character of him, and, you know, he's an amazing friend to have.
Yeah, I just want to double down on the character thing as well, because you said something earlier about like communities. And one thing we can definitely say about Debs is that he genuinely cares about the community. He'll put everybody else first. So much so, I don't think I've ever said this on a podcast. One thing about my journey is that Bricks with Tips started just before a pandemic. But one thing that definitely gave it a top up was Earn Your Leisure. And that all came from Debs phoning me, saying that raw. And it's so funny. I didn't know about Earn Your Leisure these times, which is so bad.
So bad.
But he described it. He described it to me, and I went and checked it out. I was like, yeah, I did. I promise you. Until I arrived on the first day we linked up to do the pre-party, I didn't even understand the gravity of it, innit? But I say that to say that Debs wasn't about self-gain. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because even I did the show, and Debs didn't do the show, but he sees it as a win when other people around him are winning. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Or he sees it as a win when our community is winning. It doesn't have to involve him. Does that make sense?
And when Bricks is talking show, he's talking Royal Albert Hall. We're not talking no joke.
Royal Albert Hall.
How many times are we going to be able to be on the stage at Royal Albert Hall
It's crazy.
and you're not a musician?
It's crazy. And that was all from Debs' clean-heartedness. So, yeah,
Do you know
big up
what?
Debs, man.
The way I see what we're all trying to do is we're cartel. No, we're not competitors.
Yeah, facts.
Right? If people outside in see that when you guys are doing a show together, I'm happy because I know that the community seeing two people coming together to build a podcast is good for what we're trying to build. It's good for the optics. And I know that it's genuine.
Yeah.
Right? So the Royal Albert Hall opportunity with the Earn Your Leisure, a lot of people don't even know this, but they came to me and they said, we're trying to do the show in London. Big up Jatalia as well, because she was the plug there, right? Who should we have? and I wrote them a long list. There were people that I've never met before.
Yeah.
There were people on that list that I've DM'd to connect with the same way I DM'd you, that till now they've not replied. Till now they haven't. But because I put their name on that list, they got to speak at the Royal Albert Hall and get paid.
Facts.
Right? And for me, I don't really care that they didn't reply to my DM because I give a lot of grace. Right? What was important for me is that the UK public who we're really trying to serve got to see the right people on the stage for what we're trying to do, right? Because the impact of that event was big, right? I saw people I'd not seen anywhere come out to that event. And my thing was, as great as the event was, it was a first chance for even some other financial influencers in the UK to meet each other backstage for the very, very first time.
Facts.
Right? And that's important.
Appreciate you, man.
Come on.
Akin, tell the people about your journey, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know if it's as dramatic as
Hey, listen.
as Debs, man.
I'll start off by saying Property Strat just for me, they're my OGs, bro. Like
Even
when I
me,
first,
they're my OGs.
like when I came into the property space, I remember I was mainly Twitter.
Yeah, I remember,
And these man had a community, bro.
Trust me.
And it's great to see that community still exists as well. It feels like the people that run with you, they see you lot as their people, their codees, their friends, innit? Do you get what I'm trying to say? But yeah, talk to us about the journey.
Yeah, man. I try to remember everything, but I think there's definitely like the property side and there's like the content side. I would say, I think they kind of run and coexist together. But yeah, I would say like my personal journey started I spoke about it a few times in the pod, but started when I was in uni, literally studying, just having a normal day at uni. There was a time my brother dropped me the typical book everyone gets, The Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I don't know if I still support that book the same way. But anyway, that's another conversation.
Everyone says that.
Yeah, it's another conversation. But it opened the door, innit?
Facts.
And then literally dropped me that book. I think he dropped my cousin, Goke, obviously my business partner, now the same book around a similar time. But yeah, long story short, my cousin, who's my business partner now, Goke, called me randomly in my uni room and just said, yeah, I'm coming up to Birmingham. Obviously I was in uni in Birmingham and he had graduated from Birmingham Uni like 2 years before or a year before.
Okay.
And he's a few years older. So basically he called me randomly and he said, look, I'm coming to Birmingham to buy a house, but I've got a few viewings. I'm running late, so I need you to go ahead of time. And I'm in like Birmingham city centre, but he's asked me to go to Dudley, which is like maybe like 30, 35, 40 minutes away. So he just said, book an Uber and go. I'm already thinking, brother, you're thinking, I ain't got Uber money, bro. Like, I don't have to ask you this, but I'm just saying, I just said, let me just do this help for a minute. So I just done it, booked the Uber, gone to the viewing, and I think I kind of delayed until he can meet me there. He's then met me there. The same agents then take us to another property. The first one we didn't really like. The second one he liked. It might have been the second or third one he liked anyway. And then he said, okay, I'm gonna go for this kind of thing. And obviously I'm just kind of taking it in. Again, I'm just kind of frazzled because I was in my uni room like a couple minutes ago. Now I'm in the property and now we're viewing it and now he's saying he's buying it. And I'm trying to like add everything together. But I'm just like, all right, cool, innit? Cool. And then we spoke. I'm like, it's one of them cousins that like you see him at Christmas. You see him. We grew up in the same block together, but it's getting to that age now. You don't really see each other as much in it. So it's just nice to see him and see what he's doing. All right, cool. And then a few months later, my brother said he's doing the same thing. I was like, okay. And he said, let me meet him there as well, and as part of that process as well. And then he even did it again, as in he bought two. I thought, rah, they must be cheap. Like, are we rich? I thought, yeah, we're rich. Like, my whole mindset was like, we're broke at the time. But then because of all these stuff happening, we're rich. Okay, cool. This is good to know. When I leave uni, it's an expectation that after a year or two, I get a property. That's just going to be a normal thing we do in our family. That was just the light bulb moment. So then...
What you're saying there can't be understated. Yeah. Exposure and community is everything. How can man say, okay, cool. You haven't got a job, by the way, at this point. You're a uni student.
Yeah, forget all that.
Okay, when I leave uni, 2 years, I buy a house.
Yeah,
everyone's doing it.
If everyone's doing it, everyone around you is doing it. What else?
Everyone's doing it. So it's a normal thing. So then left uni and then just worked normal jobs. I was playing football at the time. And then it just hit me at one point, maybe like a year or two out of uni. I think it was about 2 years out of uni. I got my license first year. I was just kind of focusing on getting my bread up a little bit. Then I was like, okay, oh yeah, I remember that thing. Oh, I need to buy a house. Kind of thing like that. I need to get into property. It's 2 years. Oh yeah, crap. Then I'm working a job, and then I come across. I was just obsessed about the property content. Anyway, found out a way I can get in through rent to rent, which was the strategy. Called my cousin, who at that time now had moved back to Birmingham. So he moved back to Birmingham because he'd taken on more than one property now. So I called him and said, there's this strategy, what are you saying? And he was just like, yeah, like, you go for it, innit? Cool. And then I was like, all right, cool. Let me go for it. Then I found like a perfect deal. Like, literally, like the rent to rent was ready. Like, ready as a rent to rent kind of thing. Like, all the rooms, the beds, I didn't even have to buy anything. And then I was like, I had half the money and I was like, you know what, I don't want to do this by myself. Let me go with someone I know. So I called my boys and I said, yeah, let's go on it. And then, yeah, just got that first rent to rent. And then the whole thing was I was working and then having to go up to the rent to rent, which was in Wolverhampton at the time. So traveling up and down, which I probably didn't have to do. I probably could have created some systems at the time, but I just felt like I needed to look after it.
Yeah.
And then from there, I was like, so I didn't bought the first property like these two, but I in my way, I was like, I got in somewhere.
Yeah, you got a property.
I got something. If anyone says something, I got something. You know what I'm saying?
Explain rent to rent for people as well, and the strategy you did off the back of it as well.
Yeah. So rent to rent is pretty much just when you find a property. In this case, it was a 4-bedroom house that I rented from the landlord, and then as a company, I would sublet out to tenants. So in the individual rooms, put a tenant in each room, and they would be paying me rent. But I'd be paying the landlord rent, but they would be paying me rent to cover that. And the bills, and leave a bit of profit at the end of it. So that was the first deal, and then basically having to go back and forth from that, I was just thinking, okay, this is cool, and I just felt like there was a time where this is the kind of time I'm coming away from football. So long story short, when I was younger, I played a lot of football, played it for a few pro clubs at youth level, and I've gone to uni for that insurance, but when I came out of uni, I was just going to be straight football again. So I've gone straight back to the semi-pro, and it was going well. But that season was like a definitive season where I was like, look, bro, like, you need to have a strong season. You know what I'm saying? I was even getting people that were a bit higher than me in games like maybe like League One, Conference Prem, saying to me, look, if you, for example, what happens, what they say is that you can score like 10 goals before Christmas, you get your move. So I was like, okay, cool. If I do that, I'm going. Like, and I just need to get as many goals as I can. But the season was just getting bad. And because of those years I've been in uni, the legs were just like not the same. I was picking up injuries and stuff like that. I was like, you know what? I felt very lost, and I was just like, you know what? Let me go out to Birms. I'll have this rent to rent. I'll live somewhere else, and I'll work. I'll just work a little job, and I'll just kind of just get into that bag, innit? And then I was in that bag. Moved to Birms. Was running that rent to rent. And then I was just, to be fair, I was in that spiritual space, and I was just like, God, like, what's the plan here? What's the plan? And I felt like he was just saying to me, at the time, I need this. You're gonna teach people how to be wealthy. Do you know what I'm saying? And you need to document everything you do from now, so they can see the journey, kind of thing. So alright, cool, innit? Say no more. And obviously, I'm in and around my cousin who's already starting his business. So I was like, let me just serve this guy. Whatever he wants to do, whether it be this or that, let me just help him out. So then I end up just. Anything he needed, like I was like, bro, anything you need, if you need to drive to Manchester and back, let me know. And then that's what the relationship was. We end up working together. I ended up taking more rent to rents, but with him, we ended up building the business. And then while we're doing this, I was like, bro, what we're doing here is mad. Like I'm now starting to understand this is not normal. Like we're not just we're getting a lot of these properties, we're doing a lot of these creative stuff, we're getting exposed to a lot of different things. Let's just document this stuff. So then that's how we started documenting it. And that's what kind of birthed Property Strat. I remember it was even like a New Year's party. I said, I think we should do a podcast because we're too shy to do content crazy, but we can do a podcast. We could do that podcast. And I remember meeting him at Christmas, and then that was the first day I actually met Kenny, who's the third person of Property Strat, who was his best friend, innit?
Gokke's best friend.
Yeah, Gokke's best friend.
I always wondered how that works.
Yeah. So he's my cousin, but they're best friends, and they were kind of doing stuff as well. But Kenny was more like just funding the stuff. And then while Gokke was working on the ground, innit? And then I remember us meeting, and Kenny had just, funny enough, started a Twitter page. So he wanted to do Twitter, he wanted to put some content out there. And I said, let's do a podcast. And I think Gokke was just like, hey, everyone, let's just come together. And he said, let's call it Property Strategist Podcast. And everyone said, yeah.
You know what it is? The first one, yeah.
And then I remember like going away, working on the brand. I said, because I was in a little bit into marketing and stuff. Let me chop. And I remember just thinking, what can I kind of put together? I said, I like the Monzo kind of color, and I like the keys because it's emotive. It's not like you can't touch a house, but everyone can touch your keys. It's like cool. And then I remember like literally we started, like that's how we started, and we just started going to viewings as well as we were trying to get new rents and stuff. We'll document stuff. I remember the first episode was in the car. We're literally chatting, and it was just like, I was like, when are we gonna do this podcast? I said, let's just do it now on the phone. Boom. Cool, started recording, and it was just that, and it was just that for a long period of time of just trying to build up the knowledge, and while we're learning, document stuff, and that really helped, and I kind of speed up the story, but it ended up just basically being a thing of we could see that obviously we're helping people, which was great and stuff, but what was good was that when it came to the raising finance side of our deals, now we created a machine, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We had people throwing money at us, like, can you help us source a deal, or can we do a JV with you, and all that kind of stuff. And that basically just snowballed into then basically doing that. So still working, but then getting a lot of money from sourcing, from the rent to rents. And I think my first deal where I think it was like a light bulb moment was when one of my a person I come across basically finding tenants for their properties, he became he was looking for a deal, basically sourced him a deal, and he said the next one, you find it, I'll fund it, and then you take a percentage in it. And I was like, okay, like I'll take a percentage. So then basically ended up buying 2 properties with him. Just before that, I bought my first one, and then from there it's just been JVs really. Since then we've done it. We've been doing projects in. I did my first property. I bought my first property in Liverpool. Did quite a few projects in Birmingham, and these are usually people just funding it, and we'll just project manage it and do it, or we'll joint venture and put a bit of money together and do it that way. And it's just kind of growing like that, and same time the platform's growing. It's just done that basically. And yeah, that's kind of the journey till now. At the moment now, just mainly just focusing on. Still wanted to grow the platform, but be a bit more intentional about how we do it. And then in terms of the projects, again, it's been helpful to just know, I guess, the types of projects that we want to focus on as a team. And yeah, that's been it really. Yeah, it's been it. That's been the journey. Yeah, so
it's an amazing story, and I think the thing that I love from both of you guys is that both of you set out with an intention to serve your community, which is super, super important. That's what we're gonna do today, innit? So, Iman, let's start extracting some gems from these guys.
Yeah.
Let me start at a very high level, Debs. If we're talking crypto for 2025, for someone who hasn't started, what would be the first things you'd say to someone that wants to get started?
Let me say something, right? Crypto is the only asset class. If you're like trying to do the rags to riches thing, and maybe your mindset is a little bit too quick money, crypto is an asset class where you can do that without having to do all those day trading, leverage, high leverage things right now. For 2025 in crypto,
and stocks, please.
I think I need to explain very briefly the bull run, because a lot of people think that crypto is just a lottery. So imagine, for the man them, Rolex watches. For the girls, LV bags. Imagine the number of these bags or watches in the world right now, half was to be taken away and disposed of. And then in 4 years' time, whatever's left, half of that again will be taken away and disposed of. What will happen with what's left?
Value goes up.
The value goes up because there's
less of it.
Less of it, and there's more demand now to get one of them, right? Scarcity. This is the way Bitcoin has been designed. So every 4 years, like the World Cup, half of the amount of Bitcoin.
This guy loves analogies and comparison.
half the amount of Bitcoin in supply gets removed. The concept was there shouldn't just be an infinite supply of money in the world, right? And Bitcoin is technology.
Yeah.
That technology is called blockchain technology, right? And there are lots of different types of cryptos and so on, but it all starts from that concept of the halving of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the market leader. It is the barometer of the whole industry. If Bitcoin sneezes, all of the other cryptos catch a cold.
Come on, man. Catch a cold.
Basically, so once you understand that this halving event happens once every 4 years, the next thing you do is you look at how price behaves before it and after it. And if that's consistent, if that's a consistent pattern you see every 4 years. And this isn't very complicated to do. And I've done it, and other people have done it. And what that means is we can now start applying logic to our decision making, right? So what we have seen is, okay, the date, April 2024, April 2028, April 2020, April 2016, April 2012. And what we've seen is that 1 year before those Aprils that I've just listed is your buying period. This is where it's crashed and it's low. And no one is tweeting about it and it's quiet. That's where you start accumulating. And then what you then see is that October before the halving is almost like your last bus stop to get those really, really low rates. After the halving, the October after it is where you see like the first kind of pump after the halving. So pump 1, halving, pump 2, which is where we're at October, November 2024. 2025, what do we see? What we see when you look at the charts is the highest level Bitcoin reaches is the November, 18 months after the halving date. So we're talking November 2025, November 2021, November 2017, November 2029. That is when you sell. And then you wait a year and a half or whatever, and you rebuy. So in about 12 years, you could only have done 6 transactions and you would have made a good amount of return. Now, that is a logic that follows a cycle. That isn't gambling. That is actually saying these are observed patterns we have seen before, and this is how we can take advantage of it. Now you look at the other cryptos, and what we know and what we've seen is that when Bitcoin moves, the other cryptos don't. Straight away, there's a lag. So if you've missed the move on Bitcoin, a high tide raises all boats. There is opportunity to get the ones that haven't moved. So the strategy for 2025 is that you're looking at the cryptos that haven't yet moved, but should move because they are correlated with Bitcoin, but they don't all move at once. That's just market inefficiency. We call it a mispricing. So Ripple in November 2024 did 4x, but Bitcoin pumped in October. So if you said, I've missed the Bitcoin boat, Ripple hasn't moved, the political landscape has shifted because of Donald Trump, let me try and get that train, which most people don't do. They see the Bitcoin moving and they go and buy the high-end Bitcoin to sell higher.
Top lost it.
That's not good. You can make money that way, but it's not a good strategy.
Yeah.
You won't get away with it if you try that in 7 months' time. You might get away with it now, but Bitcoin has doubled in a time where Ripple has quadrupled.
Yeah.
So which was the better play, right? So applying strategy to crypto and being around people that can break things down and have this diet. We've been talking about crypto for nearly 10 years in a WhatsApp group. So we have talked our way through multiple of these cycles. I was a skeptic the first cycle. I missed out. The second cycle, I saw, okay, there's a pattern emerging here. Let me test it with a bit. And then this time round, it's like, well, I've seen this. There's a bit more confidence and trust. And now there are multiple crypto experts in the group. And I don't need to sit down researching what it's not because someone's going to put it. And I just need to check. Is it in line? Has it not moved? 3 things. Low risk, high reward is the dream for investing. Buy low, sell high. We are moving into a medium risk, medium reward. This is where things are pumped a bit, but we're not on November 2025 yet. Soon, 2025, you might maybe get to February. We're talking high risk, medium to low return now. This is where you're risking a lot, but your reward might not even be more than 50%. So you have to be more careful. And if you're going to do that, you do it with less size. Low risk, high reward, you can do that with more size. And sizing is very important because it enables you to benefit from price properly and more efficiently. If you do a big size, medium risk, medium return, and it doesn't work out, you could end up not losing a lot of money, but at the end of it, you look at it and say, I didn't really make that much in a crypto run. So maybe you should have been looking at the stock market, at what was there. It's all about finding the right place to place your money, and what we're looking for, value for money opportunities. What's on sale that has a potential to rise.
Yeah.
So the strategy for 2025 in layman's terms is understand that you're now in medium risk, medium reward, and size accordingly to match that.
And then for someone who hasn't got a standing in stocks, hasn't done anything like that whatsoever, how would you say that they can A, begin building their knowledge, and B, take action?
So I want to talk about men versus women. Women, they tend to pay to learn and want someone to mentor them. Men, they try to wing it first. If it doesn't, then they try and get help for free. And then if that's not working, then eventually they'll pay. But I think it always starts with education, learning, and you don't need to learn. Airbnb doesn't own any houses. Uber doesn't own any cars. You do not need to walk the walk I've walked to buy stocks or crypto, right? But you can tap into what I know, my experience. It's efficient. You don't want to do what I do, trust me. You don't want to be looking at the markets as often as I look at the markets. That's my job as a mentor.
Yeah.
You've got your own life to live. You've got your own job. You've got your own. So the most efficient thing to do is not to read 100 books. It's to tap into people that read the books, that have been there, done that, and come up with a strategy that is user-friendly, easy to learn, easy to apply, and not going to take up too much of your time. That's what Stock Pickers Academy is.
Yeah.
It's, I will bring my personal network that you do not have, that you need to be able to do well in your investing journey. I will give you my strategy that I've designed myself, my intellectual property. And the reality is, people that know what I know, they gatekeep the knowledge. Because they have this fear that, if everyone knows my strategy, then it kills the strategy, which isn't true. So historically, having knowledge around investing and trading has always been you're going to steal my business idea type mentality. So people, I'm disrupting that. Even though I'm charging, I'm disrupting that mentality of not wanting to share investing strategies. And I'm giving you something that's user-friendly, giving you a network, a discussion room that can help you leverage ongoing mentoring, and also making sure that you are not making mistakes. And that's regardless of the asset class. I've traded all the asset classes that exist, almost, apart from CDS credit, right? But I've traded bonds. Some things remain the same. You buy low, you sell high.
Facts. Thank you for that, man. Akin, let's talk property. Someone trying to get into... Go on, man.
No, before we talk property, I just think one of the things you said in your story was about, like, obviously seeing your cousin doing well, and then you just wanted to serve. Like, can you talk to people about... Because I think a lot of the people we're going to talk about now, and we'll talk about finance, we'll talk about 2025, are they ready to serve? Are they ready to just say, let me be in and around something so I can just learn from that position? And because I'm in that position, serving, I'm getting access to things that I wouldn't be in. I remember Hayley, who's an amazing speaker. I remember going to a Byron and Bianca's event. I was the host, and Hayley was doing behind the scenes camera. And I was like, Hayley, why are you doing that? Hayley's like a G. She's like one of the best speakers in the world. Like, and she was like, if I wasn't holding this camera filming, I wouldn't be in this green room with all of you lot to be able to be talking and hearing stuff that I wouldn't have access to. So for her, serving was a way for her to get into rooms and get access to things that she could never, even if she bought a ticket, she couldn't be in that green room with all the people that was in that green room, and she couldn't be able to ask questions and learn and develop. So there's almost something about us where we talk about stocks, we talk about property, and we want to be the ones holding the keys. But we don't want to do the service to get the knowledge to be get there. So how did you overcome yourself to say, maybe it's easier because it's your cousin and someone you trusted, but how did you get to that point where you said, okay, I'm ready to serve in order to get to my dreams?
No, I think it's so interesting because obviously I kind of know your story. I kind of know everyone's story here, innit? And it's all kind of similar in a sense where you have that phase in your career where you just want to serve. You know what I'm saying? You're not even caring about what's coming back. And I think that's what it was. I was just in that phase of, I'm going to serve, even more than even my cousin and my business partner at the time, or still currently now, obviously, but more even just the people that are listening to the podcast, for example. Like, what do I do? What do I not know, or what do I learn? Or what have I learned, and am I experiencing that I can tell them?
Yeah.
Because it's so crazy now when I speak to youngers now, and we all get the same thing, I'm sure. They'll be like 16 years old saying, I've listened to every single podcast, I've listened to all this, and they got so much knowledge at like 16. I'm like, I didn't have this for like 24, 25.
Crazy.
Right? You know what I'm trying to say? And I feel like at the time it was just like, let me just really go in on this season with just serving people, and not even, like you said, not even wanting to necessarily care about what's coming back, and let that be the fuel, and let that be, and like you said, what happens with that is that you get so much in return.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You end up meeting people, interviewing people, speaking to people. People want to serve you. People see your real heart and that want to invest into you, even if you're not all the way there yet.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, it was just more of like a heart posture of just like, I'm in this phase. I've tried to be that sort of person who is like, let me get money and let me do this, let me become this, and I was like, let me put this to the side. This hasn't worked before, but let me just now take this new stance of just serving people, even in an area that I'm not even 100% in yet.
Yeah.
And obviously I started a pod, like I would have been like 23 when I started the pod. You know what I mean? So in that period of time, I'm learning. As I'm learning, I'm just spitting. Even when having a hard day, we're spitting.
Yeah.
Everything we're going through, we're spitting, and seeing how that's gonna impact people, even if they don't even realize it. Because what can happen is that through you impacting someone, that person can then impact that person can, and then it's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
You don't even know. But let me put that good energy out there. For this period, and let's just see what happens. And so it was just that, and and we all know that feeling of when someone comes back and be like, I listened to that pod, or because of what you done here, I've now bought my first property, or now because of this, I've now done this. And when you're getting those messages every single day, like that then becomes the fuel, like like what I'm doing here, it's not just impacting in one vertical, it's impacting in so many different verticals, and you become even addicted to that thing, because you're just like, okay, this is how I want to live my life. I want to live my life in a way that just serves people, and on the other end, I get blessed by opportunities. I was like, nah, this is a good way to kind of. So that was just the whole sort of approach.
I'm right in saying that a lot of the blessings, hopefully I'm right in saying a lot of the blessings come in directly in it after some time. I often say to people that, look, when you put good out into the world, you'll be blessed and you won't know where it's coming from. But talk to me, when you were serving whilst doing your own property investment journey, did that directly impact your business? Did you focus in on teaching others, take away from your time that you could spend developing your own portfolio?
I think yes at the time. I think now when we spoke about off air, but you get better at understanding how to position yourself and when you need to get paid and when you need to, you know what I'm saying, just do a favor. And I think I was in that phase of just serve regardless, and just try and do everything. And so it did at sometimes even impact things, but not necessarily. It probably still paid off, but at the time it was sort of like, it was just like whatever I could do to help, I would do to help, basically.
Absolutely.
So but I think what was good is that, and this is why it's good having business partners and stuff, because they're a little less like that as well. So, you know, they could be a lot more like, okay, cool, we've done that bit, now we need to get back to the work. You know, we need to get back to doing this, we need to get back to doing that. And I think at the beginning it was definitely more just serve and don't even care what comes back, to more now like, now I'm very much like, if I'm going to do something, it needs to make sense, basically. But that transition came over time, and I'm still perfecting it now, to be fair.
I thought I'd mention it because a lot of things that people won't get is that there is an element of sacrifice, especially when people take out their time. I often make the joke and say to people that when Antoinette and I dropped our first YouTube video, it was called 4 Houses in 4 Years. And that's when we first started making content. And coincidentally, we didn't buy another property for like 2 years after that. Just because, like, it's crazy that
just
content
helping people.
bro, it gets in the way of it, innit? But yeah, let's talk about your you introducing people into property. So we've seen a lot of that over the years.
I thought we were talking about property 2025.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Okay,
people you introduce your property over the years. So for people that are new to property, been thinking about it, wanted to wanted to step in, but haven't had the right guidance.
Yeah.
What would you say are the key things to look out for in property in 2025?
Yeah. No, it's definitely a changing landscape. Go on.
And let me help you. Right, someone who's got 10k and someone who's got 100k.
Yeah, that's a good shout. It's a good shout. I think what I'm seeing is definitely now been in the game for coming to a decade now. Definitely things have changed ever so slightly. What I would say is the entry point for certain places has changed, and I think the strategies continue to change as well. So I would say, for example, someone with 10k before. Potentially, and I'm talking entry, not even just investment in terms of property, but even just entry point into property. Someone could use that as potentially a deposit towards something, maybe in a very, very cheap area up north somewhere. Obviously, the rent-to-rent strategy was quite prominent as well in the last 5 years. That was something a lot of people are doing, and people are still continuing to do and still benefit from, to be fair. I think people with 10k are now looking to find alternative ways to get into the market. So one way they can do that is buddying up with people. So someone's got 10k, they've got another friend with 20k, 10k, 20k. Let's do a joint venture. Let's set up a company, and every year we save up 10k or 10 to 15k and we buy a property. That's just what we do. We can diversify that into different things like stocks and cryptos and stuff like that. But every single year we dedicate 10k to buying property. Another version of that is people are going to invest into, for example, rent to rent, but they might be even more creative and do it as a commercial opportunity. So, for example, I might find a shop, a commercial shop. I might do up the shop and put 4 barber seats on there. You know what I'm saying? And then I might, charge each chair, £500 a week to do that. So it's like taking strategies and then even being more clever to see what kind of opportunities there are. I think people use 10k and start looking into alternative ways to invest into property, like REITs. To be honest, REITs. I think another really good one is crowdfunding. So you can invest into a project, not own the whole project. It could be a land that they've bought with planning permission. They're going to build 10 flats, but I'm going to put my 10k into that, and there might only be 1% profit of the whole deal, but it allows me to experience that project like I'm in it without risking too much money, if that makes sense. So that's what I say. I think people with 10k or less in the UK will look for opportunities where they can be, it's a lower point of entry, but where they can still make a really decent return on investment, plus learn along the way. Like, learning is the biggest key, and I'll get into that, why I say that later. For someone that has 100k, 100k is not as mad as it was back in the day, to be honest. I should have said 500k or something, because 100k is not doing much anymore. But I would say with 100k, obviously, you can do the standard, buy-to-lets up north. Buy-to-lets are not looking at the greatest property strategy anymore, because the return on investment is not great. You can probably get something better from the S&P 500, to be honest. But it's still a good asset to hold, still a good way to preserve your wealth. 100k.
Can you just look to buy a property and do different investment strategies to let it out?
Exactly. So you can also look to do a B-triple-R, maybe do up a project, refinance it, try and get some of your money back and go again. You can look to, again, invest into different things like commercial property. You can even looking at international opportunities, which I think is going to become a more and more prominent thing.
I think so as well. People
going to places like Dubai, people going places like Ghana, people that going places like South Africa, where you can...
But is it real? Come on, is it real? Is this for social media? Is it real? Everyone's...
You know what? Is it
because I see everyone's in there talking about...
I can't speak on it because I've not invested internationally. But what I would say is, everyone's gonna look to get the best bang for their buck, in it.
Facts.
So where they can pull it in another market and it can give that better return on investment, then why not? I think people will go with what the trend will be. So if it gets trendy and people see it working for other people, I think people will do it. I don't know if people will actually do it, or like you said, it will just be a trend. Yeah. But I do think it makes sense. Like, if I'm being honest, like, think about it. Like, we're in London right now. We take our money, we make in London, we pull it into Manchester, we pull it into Birmingham, we put it into the other places that, because we can't afford to necessarily invest here, some people, they'll go to these places where they can get a better return on investment. So it only makes sense to do that internationally if you can.
Yeah.
You know, does that make sense? Where you can potentially get an Airbnb, even a rent to rent for 2K, but make, you know, £1,000 a month if you're doing it in SA. If that makes sense.
I think that you might ask a good question, because sometimes it does feel like buzzwords, and I think that one way to kind of like look at it, because you mentioned Ghana, you mentioned Dubai, and you mentioned somewhere SA. I feel like sometimes don't get caught up by people that are trying to sell you something new. Especially as property investors in the UK, it's kind of, I don't know how to describe what I'm saying, but you can touch both walls. Like you can feel the demand. It's tangible. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like we see people we can see that housing is an issue here, innit? Do you get what I'm trying to say? So with that being said, I think that definitely go and learn about the market properly. If you're going to invest in Ghana, you might want to go to places that you've been to in Ghana.
100%.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? Whether it's you might not do your first investment in Kumasi. You may say you want to stay in Accra, near the central. Or what if you're doing your first investment in Dubai? It's kind of like, we're saying that we are used to the UK market, but if someone tells you there's an apartment in Business Bay and the return is this, in Dubai, you're not really going to be thinking, oh, is it definitely going to rent out, if that makes sense, in Business Bay. However, it's this new area that you've never heard of. You really want to understand why that is. But I do think that the fundamentals that we apply here can be applied there as well.
I think that's why it's good. I feel like here has been great for understanding fundamentals, but now it's to go, potentially, it's now to go to other markets to start seeing where you can get a better return for your funds. And like, the world's becoming more globalized. Everyone's moving around.
Facts.
People are living in Dubai and working here, or living in SA and working in America. Like, that's the way the world is moving. And what I would say is the UK is good for a number of reasons. We've got quite a stable economy, I would say. Our housing market has been quite stable. So to be fair, it's still a great place to park your cash. But for the everyday person, I don't know if it's the best environment, or it's still going to be the best environment in like 10 to 20 years. I feel like, you know, for now, we've still got other cities, upcoming cities you can invest in. And I think we should still be aggressive in getting into those cities early. But I think, for example, London market is becoming great for like, notoriously for international investors. So another way to potentially get involved in it is just it's a joint venture, to be honest. It's like go to a UAE, engage with people, and then say, look, I've got opportunities in the UK, like get involved. You know what I mean? Go to Nigeria, Nigeria's on the red list, so it might not be hard getting the money in, but go to these other markets that are booming, because those people that are in those markets where there's money, they're parking it in London because this is a good opportunity for them. But for us, where we have a certain level of money, it's good to look at other markets as well. So I think it's just about the world's moving, and it's about seeing what opportunities are out there, and, you know, taking a small risk to see how it can work. That's why strategies like rent to rent are great. Like, try rent to rent in Ghana or Dubai, you know what I'm saying? I see how it goes for a year, and if it does do well, then invest in the actual unit. Like, we've got all these fundamentals and these foundational skills to understand how to do these things. But I think that's how I'm kind of seeing things change.
Makes sense. I had a client literally yesterday, and she's in a house in Clapham, a house worth 800k.
Crazy.
And she's got obviously right to buy. She's put the application in, even with a discount. Like, the income ain't never gonna touch it. Never, even like with my mum, whatever. You're not gonna buy it. So I said to her, listen, you buying the option is you leave here and you go somewhere else, but your lifestyle is nice here. You got space. You got your clients can come because you live centrally. Your clients can come, so you can work from this space as well. Because she does hairdressing as well. She does loads of different things from the house. She's got family around. I said to her, if you want to buy, because you said one of your top goals is buy, you have to now say to yourself, well, I can buy anywhere. I don't have to buy in the UK. Because the fact is that you're in a house now where, because it's council owned, you're paying good rent at low rent, which is low of your income, which allows you to have the income to still be able to go on holiday and enjoy life. So don't fixate yourself on, I must buy property in the UK. If you know that, I might wanna buy in Barbados or in the Caribbean, or then buy something out there, and then you can rent it out and get income when you're not there. And then when you're there on holiday, you're enjoying. And it's like opening our minds, because we are so taught to, I live here, I must buy here. But actually, like you said, the world is opening up. And sometimes we don't need to force ourselves, because the other option for her to buy is now to go and live some quaint village, quaint outside London, don't know nobody, only black person around, no plantain anywhere. all to say that you're owning.
Yeah.
For who?
Yeah.
Why would you inconvenience yourself that way when you've got a nice lifestyle the way you live? I really believe it's about how do we make our money work for us and make it useful to us. And when I speak to a lot of my clients, if they're investing in a SIP or in a pension, it's because I want to use this for my business. I've got a business idea, and now I can use tax-free money to help pump into this venture money I was gonna lose anyway. And now all of a sudden I buy a commercial property or I buy a commercial business unit, and now I'm making money, but I'm investing for my future through a pension, but I'm also enjoying my money, because if I tried to buy that commercial unit direct, I would have paid tax on it. But now I buy it through my pension. Do you understand? It's like, actually, how do I make these things work for me, as opposed to me just working and saying, oh, this is what everyone else is doing. And so what you're saying is so true, is so important, and look at property in that way as well. Not just as, oh, I want to own a property because everyone says it's right to own a property. It's like, how do I make property work for me and what the life I want for myself?
On that note as well, though, there's something I'll say, and I want to get an insight from everybody, innit? Iman, you might have heard me say it before. So I often say, if you're not a high earner, you don't invest in stocks, anything like that, and you're not running a business, you must buy a home at a minimum. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree.
Talk to me
But
about
before that, if you don't have deposit money to buy a home, right, and you're working towards that, here's how I actually started in property in the UK. So I started with what I call a no money down strategy, which is starting from zero, not the 10K. And a lot of people don't believe that this is possible, but it is. And I remember I paid £500 for this course back in the day. I say back in the day, this was 2018. I paid £500 for this course. It was a 2-day weekend course, right? 9 to 5 each day near Heathrow. And we went through every single property strategy. And I am a course skeptic, right? But I said, you know what? I'd rather pay the £500 and be wrong and know that I'm 100% sure that these courses aren't just... Listen, I learned so much that day. But me being a trader, it was that zero money down strategy that really caught my eye.
Buy low. Buy low so high.
So here's what it was. First of all, you need to find investors. And then you need to find properties for them that they might be interested in buying that are below market value, right? And you don't need to necessarily become a sourcer to do this, because if you find the right seasoned investor, he already has his people that will do the due diligence for him. So instead of being a sourcer where you have to set up a business and everything, you can be a buying agent. You can be his eyes and ears or her eyes and ears in the property market. So how do you go around finding investors? You go to property auctions. And then you have to use your brain and be smart. When you see two people competing at a property auction, what does that tell you?
Someone's going to lose, and the person that's going to lose is going to need something.
Both of them have bread. Because you're not starting at 100K and going to 500,000 if you don't have bread, right? So what do? You go up to them and you say, I see the way you bid there. You grease their elbow, grease their palm lip. I see the way you bid for that property. I liked it, but if you're looking for below market value properties, that's what I specialize in. Right? This might be your first ever one. Yeah? That's what I specialize in. So if you're interested, I can take your details, and next time I find one, I can send it your way, and you can do your due diligence and analyze it yourself. And you just repeat that process. Do you know how many property auctions happen in London every month?
Stupid amount.
You will literally build up a list. So you've got the investor side. Now you need to find the demand. So have you ever seen those posters that say, we buy any car, cash? We buy houses, cash. Who do those posters target? People who want a quick sell. So now you're finding your distressed sellers. And a distressed seller could be for any reason. It could be they're downsizing because their kids have moved out. It could be they've had a divorce. It could be they are about to be repossessed and this is a quick fix. It could be There are lots of different reasons to find that distressed seller. So you can print leaflets, put your number at the bottom. We buy any house cash. Doesn't need to be you, it's your investors, right? So those investors are typically the type that could cash buy because they're willing to do that at auction or find the money to be able to make that work. So now, okay, you invest in leaflets, Vistaprint or whatever it is, right? Or social media, WhatsApp stories, Snap. You've got your demand, you're building up your supply, and the rest is you're playing Tinder, right? You're matching up your investors. You're matching up your investors with your clients. So I said, okay, let me test it. Listen, I walked down to Camberwell. I started seeing things I wasn't seeing before the course.
Of course.
That's the sick thing.
Hey,
I'm
the
glad you
maddest
said
part.
that. So
Yeah.
when
I
you get the
started
exposure,
seeing...
you realize opportunities that you wouldn't have realized before.
Yeah.
You see, when I learnt to drive, the way my instructor was banging on about mirrors before you turn, mirrors before you open your door. Look, the next time I walk down the street, you know, people walk slow and fast. I was even doing like this.
Mirrors.
Bruv, you see, when you do a course and you learn and you get exposure to something resets in your brain.
It's like NZT.
So I was walking down the bro, I grew up in Peckham, Camberwell. I know back of my hand. And I saw this pub. And I saw these flats above the pub for sale. So I went on the auction website. Another thing you can do on the auction website, you can look at unsold at auction.
Yeah.
And the reason a property might not have sold at auction could be because the lease is about to run out. Yeah. You do some further work. You check how much it will cost to renew that lease by another 70 years. It might be 20 grand or whatever. You add that to the... and you realize that this thing is still
undervalued,
but no one wants to do the work. Someone has just seen the red flag and said no. Right? So I see 2 flats above this pub in Camberwell. And I went on the website. I just Googled the street name to see which auction if it was there. Right? And I saw it unsold in auction. And I looked at the price, but it was like 175k for 2-bed flat on top of a pub in Camberwell in 2019. I said, something ain't right here. Why? Because I know my area. I said, that's a mispricing, right? And remember what I said earlier, don't matter the asset class. If you see something that looks a bit off, investigate. So I went to my list. In fact, I didn't even need to go to my list. I just remembered somebody that I'd met in the auction and I just said, bro, I think we might be onto something here. I sent him the link. I followed him to Savills. We went there. I met up with him. We went there, put 40k on one and he said, I will take the second one too. I got my commission. But here's the thing with this strategy, which is a little bit risky. So I was supposed to earn 10 grand and I ended up getting 7 because he just did big man for me. Yeah, which is fine. And I called up.
It's jarring. It's not fine.
It's jarring, but I understood that there was that risk anyway. And I called up one of my other property mentors, right? And he said, Deb, sometimes this happens in this market. Just take what you can and go, and you learn and you go on to the next one. Because me, I was already giving him the, look at the value I brought you. If you don't pay me my dues, what's my incentive to go and find you even better in the future? But it was what it is. But the point is, this was within 4 months of doing a course that cost me £400. I'd made 7 grand, right? And it was a bit time intensive and stock pickers, and I didn't go back and start doing more and more and more of those because I just got really busy. But this is something that if you're listening and you want something that could be a starting point, I've given you a free game on a free strategy on how to find investors, a simple strategy on how to potentially find people that might be distressed sellers, and you're on the side of it's up to your buyer. Just make that clear that, listen, gentleman's agreement, you do your own due diligence, I just find potential opportunities and over the time we get better. Yeah. Right? So that's a starting point. But to answer your question, I say the same thing in the stock market. If you're not in Stock Pickers Academy, stick to S&P 500. Just stick to it. Don't pick stocks. Just stick to that passive, averaging 10% that you're doing. Likewise, if you haven't learned these other things and you're not doing anything with your money and it's just lying in the bank, buy a house.
Yeah.
Right. Worst case, it's not the best of investments, but it's better than leaving your money in the bank.
Yeah, I'll go a step further as well, and I'll say, if you're gonna buy a house, I prefer to do it as an investment first.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So at least you're covering the mortgage and it's going up in value over time, and then at least even if you go rent somewhere else, it takes care of itself. You know what I'm saying? It's not a thing that you have to go to now work to now pay the mortgage to now. You know what I mean? Stick a tenant in there, it pays for itself, and then you can go on with living life knowing that. And the one thing I do like about property versus potentially stocks and shares, or it's just that you can't like. It's hard to liquidate sometimes, you know what I'm saying? So in a way, you're forced to save, you know what I'm saying? Like I've got there's a lot of equity I'm probably building every single day in all the different properties I own, and it's because I can't just sell it within 24 hours. I can't just, release it. And I think as young people, it's good. It's a good thing because sometimes I'm like, okay, at least I know in 10 years time that property when I look to sell it, I'm gonna have cash there because I was forced to save it. And another thing you mentioned, which is about like the property sourcing and matchmaking and stuff. I just think even if you don't get into property or you want to do flips or developments, I feel like everyone on a normal day to day should be a property sourcer, because if you think about it, all you need is two things. Like you're saying, you need a list of investors and you need a property deal. Now you look at every single person, every kind of profile person, they all have communities they're part of, and there's also opportunities because they live somewhere. So for example, I live in, I don't know, Birmingham or something, and I know that this is a good market for London investors. Okay, cool. I go to church, I go to my local football team, you're always in environments. I go to business entrepreneurship networking events. There's always gonna be opportunities for me to drop a message in there and say, oh, by the way, there's this property that's in this area that's kind of upcoming, and you should get involved in it. I feel like the more you can get good at doing that kind of skill, and we could even go further. Like I go to Ghana every December, and I go to Accra, and I go to these places where people want to go. I'm going to set up a networking event and talk about UK to Ghana and how you should get involved in both markets. I just think property sourcing and these things should just be a normal day-to-day conversation. Yeah. Even I'll go a step further. Like people don't understand that. Let's say there's now I'm sourcing deals, and now I come across a project where it's a bit run down, the property. And if I can buy it because the landlord is distressed and he wants to sell, I can offer him a lesser amount. I can also then do it up and then I can sell it. Okay, it's gonna cost 100 grand altogether to do this, and I've got 20 grand. And everyone might think, oh my god, like this is crazy. But when you're helping investors every single day create opportunities and do this and do what you're doing is you're creating people that know you're good at finding deals and will fund you. Yeah. So then it's just like, okay, well, you put the remaining 80 and I put 20 in, and we'll just split the profits 50-50. And people, I think when you say it sounds so mad, but that's a normal conversation you're having, because if you're creating opportunities, you're sourcing deals for people. That same investor you found that deal for, if you say, I've got another deal for you, but it's going to make you even more money, but for this one, I'm not going to charge you no sourcing fee, but I want 20% of the profit on exit, he's going to probably be like, all right, cool. You know what I'm trying to say? So I feel like even if you're not going to do any of this, definitely just buy a house, but probably make it an investment property if possible. If not, live in it for a period of time, and then you can do what you can do. But you can
buy it and then live at home.
Yeah, buy it or buy it and maybe rent out one of the rooms or something. You know what I mean? Make it a bit more creative, innit?
Yeah. But I agree with you. Like what people don't realize is what you just said. Because someone say, "Oh, you put 80. Why would you get 50-50?" But people don't really understand. The money part is probably the easiest part.
Money part's the easiest part.
That's the easiest part. Like if I've got 80k sitting in a bank account doing nothing for me, and I give it to you, and then you make it, and I get 50%, I've done nothing. Honestly, I haven't had to work. Honestly, you're the one that had to deal with the people doing the development, getting the sellers, the solicitors, the estate agents. You've done all that. Yeah. So even though you've only put 20% of capital, the capital part's the easy part because the money's working. I'm still able to do all the things I normally do, and how I make money, and how I got the 80k in the first place. I can still do that. And now that 80k that was sitting in the bank earning me 2% has now gone to make me more money.
I think people don't see the scenarios that play out for it. For example, you might be a corporate guy who's a director at a large financial firm, and you work crazy hours every single day, but you make crazy dough. You create crazy money, but you also know that you're very liquid, but you don't have assets. You want to build a whole portfolio up north. And if you're saying to a younger person, "Oh, you live up north and you can just run around and do all these bits to build up the asset class for me," then you're of use to that person. You know what I'm saying? And with that, then you can then now negotiate, equity into certain opportunities.
Someone starting, how much would you say you should start at?
It's all relative. Do you know why it's relative? Because you could go to Nigeria. This literally happened to me recently. I talked to my dad one day. I said, bro, I want to tap into my privilege more.
Yeah.
I said, Dad, I want to tap into my privilege more. I said, all your rich friends in Nigeria, yeah, whoever wants to get into property, shout them. Let them know that they can shout me. Then he went round. He was going to Nigeria at the time, so he went round. He spoke to a few of them, and then one of them shouted him, and he's like a multi-millionaire, and his son lives here. So I linked up with him, and then we linked up, and he was like, so your dad, I know your dad's up, or what you want to do? So I want to buy a few properties this year. And I was like, cool. I'm gonna find your project, and then we'll go in on it together. Found a project. That was that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even money involved. So, and then people will be like, we live in London, so you can network. We've got two sides of London. You got the wealthy part, and you got the lower part. There's always people you can tap into.
Yeah.
But in terms of just your own money, I mean, you can start with anything. You can start with 5K and get a rent to rent in Birmingham.
Yeah.
You can start with 10K and do something closer
But
to London.
if you're doing a joint venture and you haven't really got money, but you're running around, I want these young people to know how they should negotiate. Is 10% good? Is 20%
I don't think you start
good?
with negotiating. I think you go in just sourcing the best deals. Like, source the best deals that you can. Make people 100K, 200K. Make them serious money. And then those same people come back to them and say, I've got an opportunity now, and I want to have equity, and I've even saved up. Because I do think having skin in the game is very important too. It shows there's a level of respect that comes to that as well. So don't just come with nothing. Come with 10 bags or 5K or whatever it is, and then say, cool, can I have some equity now? And then they will respect you because you find good deals. And then they'll say, can you manage everything though? And you say, I manage everything.
Do you know
I
what?
manage every single thing.
I feel like, I was going to say, just the way my mind works is, I think young people can still adopt what you've said, but just add another. Listen, I'm not going to charge you anything, or I'm not going to, but if after you make your money, you're looking to say a little thank you, I won't say no.
What do you mean for sourcing
for what you said earlier in terms of not necessarily taking a big chunk in profit on the first one.
On the first one, I mean, everyone can go off the bat. You can go and start negotiating, but I think the best way, from my personal experience, is just I'll source for you. I'll take a straight fee, but I'll make sure that you make a lot of money on that deal.
Yeah,
and I'm even probably, and it's a two-way thing, because people think, because you got the money, and I actually have more leverage than you, because if I've got, in some cases now, I've got hundreds of people that want a good deal, and there's only one person that's finding the deal, then I've got more leverage than you, even though you got the money.
I don't have to bring it to you. I can bring it to someone.
I can bring it to someone else. So what I'll say is, I need to, when I provide that experience or that transaction, I need to see how you move.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you pay me a fee, but you seem like a person that's just always gonna blame other people, or you don't seem like a person. I'm gonna be like, I'm just gonna source deals with you. Yeah. But someone else might be a pleasure to work with, and it's got experience and it's got plenty of money.
So it's a test out there as well.
So it's about kind of
mind games.
Feeling out who's the best person to joint venture with. So
I think both of you have said something really good, because you both spoke about investing in yourselves, innit? And Akin, you spoke about making a content and documenting your journey, because that also helps you to get investors.
Leverage.
And literally what you're saying is so true. Like, money is more abundant than deals.
Yeah, facts.
There's more money in the world than there is deals, basically.
Yeah, facts.
So you're absolutely right. You've got the leverage. And when you understand, sometimes a lot of us come from a place where money isn't abundant in our scenario, but we need to open our minds and realize that it's abundant in the world. Yeah. And a lot of people that have money, like you're talking about the CFO with hasn't got the time to having all of that cash is actually a problem for him. He wants to get rid of it. He wishes he had a business he could invest in, or wishes he had someone that could build him a portfolio. So I think it's super important to come from that angle. And you're absolutely right. I think that like selling the deals can help you work out which investors you want to work with. But you see, if you've been showing your expertise and documenting your journey, I think that like with enough time you can go in or a joint venture, not putting any money, and go 50-50. Because they're not making, they weren't doing anything with the funds either. So you make 50% of the profit on top. So
I think it's just understanding your investors and how much leverage you have in that situation. The reason why I was even saying like international investors might be a great place to start as well is because, for example, if I'm going to a market like, let's say Singapore, which is a market that we have some investors in, and they're saying that they want to get involved in, they've got a lot of money, maybe they're running businesses and they want to get involved in the UK, which is, it's a great market. And you're saying to them, look, you bring majority of the money, we'll bring some of the money, and then we go 50-50. For them, it's going to be like, look, like, getting the money in there. I mean, getting understanding property, understanding the market, understanding what deals stack up. All these things are building leverage in your advantage to be like, okay, this is all bargaining chips to then negotiate about a higher percentage of the equity. But I think the more you can build leverage in any scenario, I think that's where you can negotiate. And if it's not really that, then it's just like just stick to the fee and then go from there.
Yeah, Debs, we got to wrap up. But let's say someone wants to buy stocks. Yeah. What kind of areas should people be looking to study in? Is it electric vehicles? Is it pharmaceuticals? Obviously, with pandemics that we've had and so forth, what type of areas should people be looking at? And when they get started, obviously talk about the fact of community, because one thing I love about Stock Pickers is that I've learned about companies that I've never heard of in that group. Then I go and start Googling. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. And I'll be honest, that group helped me look good in front of my clients. Because if you just spend a little time in there each day, read a couple, two things, do a little Google, sit in front of my clients like, did you know that? I said, wow. This like, bruv, I don't know nothing, bro. Do you understand? But you can get 2-3 things that are going on in the world because everybody's just sharing their knowledge, you know what I mean? Which is fantastic. But other than that, like if people are looking at, I want to buy a stock, I'm thinking about, I want to get into stocks, would you still say, stocks like Apple's, Microsoft, are still, or do you feel like we should be looking for the next ones, and how do people go about doing that? Just quickly.
Yeah, so I've never bought Apple shares.
Okay, facts.
And I love the company to bits.
Yeah.
But it will always be, is it value for money right now? Right? So you've got your big 8 companies, your Apples, your Amazons, your Microsoft, your Metas. Meta's price has gone from 100 to 600 in less than 2 years. Right? And 100 was actually the alert price on my watch list.
Yeah.
So for me, it's always going to be a very simple answer. Buy whatever is on an alert on the Stock Pickers Academy watch list, right? One thing I got from working in the quant hedge fund, where it's AI, it's machine learning, is emotion goes out the window.
Facts.
Right? You might be a dentist and you might love Invisalign, but if the price ain't right, leave it alone. So price ultimately is what you're outsourcing to me. I'm the price guy. I will buy and sell flowers. Buy low, sell high. I understand the mispricing, a discount, and I apply the same thing to any asset class. And stocks was just a starting point. And the reason it's Stock Pickers Academy and not Investing Club is because stocks is the forgotten asset class, especially in the community. Yeah. Right? I think we trust property, we know property, but stocks is like everyone is winging it in our generation. So stocks, there's so many interesting sectors, AI, electric vehicles, but it all counts for nothing if you don't get a good price.
Yes.
Right? And some people might think, you can't pick a good price. Yes, we can. Some people will think, you can't time the markets. Well, we can with some probability. And if you pick 10 stocks, but you time the market right on 2 of them using the tools that I use, then when you sell, you've got that capital back, you can reinvest in something else. And that 2 out of 10 is still significant in enabling you to outperform the S&P 500. So the answer isn't a straightforward look at pharmacy. So right now, we're not looking at pharmaceuticals. We're not looking at Chinese companies because they carry more risk. And given the amount of, there's 60 alerts on the watch list right now, given the amount of opportunities, you don't need to go and dance with the devil, right? You don't need to go and play with the fire when there's some things that are here just sitting on the table, low-hanging fruit that you can just check. So ultimately, it starts with price for me. I don't even start trying to buy a stock unless the price is on an alert, and then we do the due diligence.
So where do they find you? How do they get access to the watch list?
Stock Pickers Academy on Instagram, or Man Like Debs. The link in the bio has 3 key things. It's got a video on compound interest, a video on all you need to know about stock pickers, access to the watch list and the WhatsApp group, and then also the e-course. And the first session of the e-course is free. So everyone should at least sign up and watch that free video because you'll learn something from that.
Big. Akin.
If you want to find us, Property Strat. on Instagram.
You got deals right now? Because he's always messaged me, bro. I got this deal. Have you know anyone?
That's true.
Talk to us about the deals. How do they get on the deals?
I'll say on two sides. So if you want to get involved as a deal sourcer, you want to work with us and co-source deals, then get in touch with us at Square Development Group, and you can come a deal sourcing partner. We'll teach you. It's an online subscription, but we'll teach you how to deal source, and then we'll give you access to some of the communities that we're part of, where there's investors that are looking for deals. And then, Property Strat, pretty much everywhere, but Instagram mainly where we're at. And if you're looking for a deal, if you're looking for investment opportunity, shout me. And if you're looking to get into deal sourcing, shout me.
Yeah. So that's if you got money, and how much money can they? If someone's got 5K, 10K, can they jump and joint venture on one of your things, or how much they need to have? What's the level now? Because I know you've gone up in the world.
I would say for the projects we're looking at now, definitely minimum 150K that we're looking at for in and around London or in and around Birmingham as well for those sort of commercial to resi deals, and anything more than that, and we'll work on that with open arms as well. But yeah,
that's the beautiful thing. He's given the option for the people with 150K, but if that's not you, he's given you how you could build that 150K. And it's similar to what Deb said about Uber doesn't own no cars, Airbnb doesn't own no properties. Akin can show you how to source properties and sell them without owning any properties. Then you work your way up to the 150.
Yeah, man, that's it, man.
That.
Guys, thank you for having you on, man. That's been a beautiful episode. I'm sure the people got loads of gems. Guys, you already know where to find the guys. But once again, I've been Tayo.
I've been E-Man.
Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.